Good tidings, Earthlings, and welcome to another episode of League on Lock. My name is Eric. We very much appreciate you guys joining us. As always, the LCS Preseason Showdown Power Rankings, of course, are continuing. We did the bottom four, time for the top six. These are who we believe will be the front runners to be making playoffs in 2020 spring, and we've talked about the differences between doing a tier list or actually going 10 to 1 and giving every team an individual ranking. 6, 5, 4, and 3 would probably be separated into two tiers, with 6 and 5 maybe being B, 4 and 3 being that A tier. But that's too easy, as we've already said. So we're going number 6, the first playoff team that we have, and even finishing in playoffs in top 6 is a big improvement from what this squad saw in 2019. We're talking 100 Thieves, Nadeshot, and the boys, who, as we know, have expanded well beyond League of Legends, and they are fully a streamer house, basically now. There's a lot of streamer content, so if you're interested in that, another reason to be fans of 100 Thieves, I suppose. But this is, of course, the Run It Back Again 2018 roster, when they had the most success, with Cody Sun and Meteos coming back to the squad. Stunt gets promoted, which means Afro is not part of the reunion run with the boys. And Ryoma, the only OPL import, starting in the mid lane. There's 80 carries and supports around other major regions, but he's the only mid laner starting in the LCS. Triple is obviously also with FlyQuest Academy, but not starting on that LCS squad. This roster looks decent, and they should be a playoff squad, at the very least contending. That's why they're number 6. But the fact that Ryoma is in there in the mid lane, we know how important that role is. We had him at the bottom of the rankings for mid laners in the LCS. We saw Ryu and Huhi be extreme liabilities at times, and if that is the weakest role on the roster, although Stunt might still hold that honor, it's going to put your team back, regardless of how solid your solo or your top lane and bot lane are. And Ryoma, he's not known to be a supportive mid laner either. He played a lot of assassins or control mages in the OPL. So is he going to make way for Ssumday and Cody Sun to really get a lot of the resources? Because that's got to be the play style that 100 Thieves play. Ssumday, you went out of the way to ensure that he comes back to the starting lineup. Bang is shipped off over to Evil Geniuses, which means you believe in Ssumday, which means give him the resources. Don't have him on tank duty. Funnel resources into Ssumday and Cody Sun. So less resources, maybe not as many assassins or heavily carry-oriented champions in the mid lane. And sometimes it is almost a positive thing for teams to kind of have that so fully isolated in their playstyles, where we have two lanes that we really want to emphasize. Of course, it's better to have 3 fully capable carrying lanes, and Ryoma still might be capable of that. He might overperform what us and everyone else is expecting out of him, but you know, at least early on, and 100 Thieves have been criticized a lot for not giving enough resources to Ssumday, even when he was in that starting lineup throughout 2018 when they were successful, and 2019 spring when they were not so successful. But Prawley's out. It's an entirely new coaching staff. I hope that issue doesn't rear its ugly head again, because if you're shipping Bang out, you better be giving a lot of attention to Ssumday. And we know him and Meteos worked pretty well together in the past for 2018. So Ssumday, big upgrade over Fake God if you're talking last year. Meteos is an upgrade over Amazing. Ryoma, at most, you're giving a side grade. He's not a huge downgrade to Ryu by any means. Cody Sun versus Bang might actually be a small upgrade, but I think that's a pretty even one. And Stunt to Afro, that's pretty comparable, because there's still a lot of unproven grounds for Stunt for how good he can actually be. But the standards are pretty low when you're talking about 100 Thieves from last year. They missed playoffs in both splits. They finished dead last in the spring split. They were one tiebreaker away from making playoffs. There's a whole lot of synergy from the past here. We've talked about Cody Sun and Meteos playing together. Ssumday and Stunt are really the only returning players from 2019 where they won the Academy League. And again, it's really only to go up from here for 100 Thieves, although they were one game away from summer. So I suppose they could finish last in this split, but this roster has too much talent to be finishing that low. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on Cody Sun, and he's an interesting case because people seem to flip-flop between saying, well, he got carried by his supports, whether it was Ole, Afro when he was MVP, or Vulcan, who was that breakout star. And then on the other side, people say, well, actually, Cody Sun carried his supports. He made Ole look better than he was. Then he struggled on Team Liquid, which he didn't, by the way. Only at MSI did things start going downhill. Afromu, after that MVP split, he was not nearly as good with Bang. That's probably due to communication issues and not speaking the same language. And Vulcan, well, you know, it was just a flash in the pan. He's not actually good. Well, we'll see how he is with Sven. I expect Vulcan to be pretty darn good. But Cody Sun, it doesn't have to be he carried his support or the support carried him. What you can really say is he played with 3 different supports and went to Worlds with 3 different supports and worked well with every single one of them. So really, either way, it's a testament to Cody Sun, and I hope we see the same level of play that we saw towards the end of summer and through the entire qualification process for Worlds, especially in play-ins when he looked fantastic against weaker competition and before Clutch got thrown into that absolute group of death. But Cody Sun, I mean, he went 7 games without dying. The meta champions, he knows how to play perfectly. You even saw Kog'Maw getting pulled out against TSM in the playoffs. There's going to have to be a lot of heavy lifting from Cody Sun and Ssumday if 100 Thieves finish higher than 6 to get better seeding in the playoffs. But this team should be a playoff team, and depending on how Ryoma fits in that mid lane, if he can at least go even in most of these matchups and not get outclassed by, you know, these 7 EU mid laners that are in the LCS, then 100 Thieves could maybe finish a bit higher than 6. But Ryoma and Stunt are definitely the biggest question marks on this roster heading into spring.